Hello, hello, and welcome back. I know it's been a while since I've posted, at least in long form, and today is going to be a long form post about the deposition from Jenny Slate. So, buckle up. We're going to be here for a minute because this deposition is like 45 pages, I believe. So get your snacks, get your drinks, get comfy and cozy, and let's go. Okay, so the opening page of this deposition, it is titled September 26th, 2025. Moving on to the next page, it is just the typical cover page for these depositions, letting us know it's Blake Lively as the plaintiff versus Wayfarer Studios et al. And starting on the next page, it says Slate Confidential question. And you were an actress in the film It Ends With Us, right? Yes. And in that film, you portrayed the character of Alyssa? Yes. And who was Alyssa in the film? Alyssa is the sister of Ryle and the best friend of Lily. And Ryle and Lily are the main characters? Yes. How did you come to portray Alyssa in the film? I was offered the role. By whom? Through an email from my agents. So you didn't audition for it? No. When you were offered the role, what did you do to determine whether you wanted to take it? I read the script. Like the first thing I did, I'm sorry. And then it skips from page 17, that's where it starts, to page 38. And it ends with the word view question mark. Miss Porter, objection to form. Any issues with improvisation? I'm going to withdraw the question and we'll move on to another topic. Did Wayfarer provide you with any workplace harassment training in connection with It Ends With Us? Not that I can remember. Do you recall receiving any training regarding a safe work environment or sexual harassment? Not that I can remember. Did you understand whether there was a human resources department in connection with It Ends With Us that you could go with any concerns related to the film? I assumed. Did you know if there was one? No. Were you ever given an email or a hotline you could use to raise concerns? Not that I can recall. I'm going to hand you a document, and it skips to page 42. What conversation had occurred? Before this text exchange, there was a conversation on set where I felt that something inappropriate happened, and I mentioned it. Can you tell us a little bit more about what was going on? What was the inappropriate thing that you felt had happened? We were, in my memory, getting ready to shoot, and Blake and I and Justin were on set. And he mentioned that she looked, I can't remember the order of it, but sexy and then hot, or hot and then sexy, or that her look was sexy or hot. And I remember her saying something like, that's not what I'm going for. And then he tried another modifier, either hot or sexy. Again, I forgot the order. And I remember her saying something like, not that either. And then I said to Justin something like, I was recently talking to a friend about how comments about actors' bodies and their wardrobes, and again, this is paraphrasing, but it ranged from irrelevant or unnecessary to like inappropriate and distracting. And it's, can be a little bit awkward to call it out, but like, we're just not doing this anymore. And I felt that I needed to say that because that's how I felt. I didn't want to speak for Blake because I didn't know her well at the time. And I can only speak for myself. So generally, but Justin seemed that he didn't like that I said that because he sort of like walked away in a huff and then came back and said something like, the reason why I use the word hot is because it's hot in here. So that was the situation as I remember it. Did you believe him? Did I believe him? That the reason he used the term hot was because it was hot in there? No. What did you think of that comment? I was disappointed by it. Did it sound to you like he was making an excuse that was not truthful? Yes. And why is that? Well, I was there. I heard the descriptor used in the context that it was used. Did you feel that you understood the meaning of what he was saying when he said it? Miss Porter, objection to form. Let me ask that again. How did you understand Mr. Baldoni's comment to Miss Lively? I understood his comment to that it was about her appearance. Did you feel that it was about her character or her? I felt that it was about her body. Did you come to understand how Miss Lively interpreted Mr. Baldoni's comment at some point? Yes. And when was that? Later that day. So going back to this text chain, it skips to page 47. I was concerned, and yeah, I was concerned. Why were you concerned? All of those things in my mind are unprofessional, inappropriate, and really out of the ordinary. What about those incidents that Miss Lively described to you made you feel they were inappropriate? Invasion of privacy, calling someone's trainer to find out their body weight, unprofessional emotional expression. Is there anything else you and Miss Lively spoke about in that conversation? I can't recall other specifics, but I know that the conversation was around listening to each other, wanting to be supportive, needing to be affirmed, validated, and trying to figure out what was going on. Did you find it unsettling? What was going on? Yes. Did Miss Lively tell you that? And it skips to 51. What do you recall those to be at that time? Justin's inappropriate comments, generally a kind of chaotic set. Yeah. When you say his inappropriate comments, you mentioned the hot and sexy comments to Miss Lively. Were there any comments to you that you felt were inappropriate at that time? Yes. And is this from Mr. Baldoni? Yes. What did he say to you that you felt was inappropriate? He said something like, I can say this because my wife is here, but you look sexy in what you're wearing. And what about that did you feel is inappropriate? I would say it breaks a pretty well understood norm to comment, give your personal opinion on how someone's body looks. When you say a pretty well understood norm, can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that? Sort of like I said previously, in the situation that I described between Blake and Justin and I assumed there was an understanding of we're not doing this anymore. It's not appropriate anymore. It never was appropriate, but it's not appropriate in a workplace and even on a film set, in any workplace. And is that the case even though your physical appearance is an element of acting? Objection. Well, let me strike that. Is it the case that your physical appearance is an element of acting? Yes. And is it the case that you felt it was inappropriate in this workplace, even though your physical appearance is an element of acting? Yes. And why is that? The comment was about me, not my character. It wasn't useful for my work. It wasn't anything I wanted. It was unwanted and had no place in my professional experience. Did you feel that same way about the comments Mr. Baldoni made to Miss Lively that you described earlier? Yes. Did you feel that Mr. Baldoni was sexualizing you? Objection. Yes. Did you say anything to Mr. Baldoni at the time when he made the sexy comment to you? Yes. What did you say? I was surprised and bummed out, sort of lightly stunned, and I think I said something like, yeah, it's a good look. Did you tell him that you didn't like the comment? I did not. And why did you not do that at that time? I didn't feel comfortable. Why not? Because I think it was either my first or second day on set. He was my boss, and I just wanted to do my work and leave. Going back to the text chain and Miss Lively's response to you, she says in the second line, I'm sorry for what you've experienced, and I wish I would have been there to witness it for you. Was Miss Lively not present when Mr. Baldoni made the sexy comment to you? I don't remember her being there. Did you talk about that comment in your conversation with her in the trailer on May 23rd? I must have. And then at the end of this entry is the text exchange. Miss Lively says, you were able to be bold without being inflammatory, which is such a tightrope, and I really appreciate it. Did you understand this to be referencing the statement that you made to, and then it skips to page 58? Weirded out by that. How did you find out? Because I found out because when I was leaving the room, he made a joke along the lines of, I may or may not have recorded the whole thing. Did you say anything at the time? I can't remember what I said. Did you and Miss Lively talk about that then? At any time? Let's first talk about it then. Did you talk about it then? Blake immediately said something along the lines of that wasn't legal to do that. How did Mr. Baldoni respond? I can't really recall what he did. Did he react well? I can't remember. I was very flustered. And going back to the time where Mr. Baldoni referred to Miss Lively as sexy and hot, and you made your statements, you said that he walked away. Did he seem upset? Yes, he seemed upset. And what about his manner led you to believe that he was upset? Kind of a like walking off manner or walking off in a puff type of mannerism. Going back to exhibit 5, at the end here you say, "How you feeling? I'm so dead today. My apologies." And then Miss Lively says, "You are not dead to my eyes. I'm having a funky time today. You?" "Uh-huh. Do you see that?" "Yes." Was that the next shoot day? The timing is a little off on this potentially because we can't tell if well, it's GMT time, but it looks like it's the next day. Do you recall? I can see what you can see here. Okay. But do you have any recollection of it being the next day when you began this next text exchange about what was happening? No. Did you arrive at your feelings independently based on your own experiences? Yeah. Okay, because that jumped from page 59 to 62 when it says about what was happening. So we didn't get the answer if that text message was from the next day. Then Miss Hudson, all right, should we take a little break? Miss Porter, yes. The videographer, we are going off the record. The time is 11:46 a.m. This ends media unit 1 off the record. Then the videographer says, we are now going on the record. The time is 11:59 a.m. This is the beginning of media unit 2. Question, Miss Slate, I'm going to hand you another document that we're going to be marking as Exhibit 7. Whereupon Exhibit 7 was marked for identification. Miss Hudson, Exhibit 7 is a text chain between Miss Slate and Miss Lively, dated May 25th, 2023, bait stamp JS374 through 376. And does it jump? Nope. Okay. Miss Slate, do you recognize this as a text exchange between you and Miss Lively that you participated in? Yeah. And it looks like this continues the prior conversation where Miss Lively said she was feeling funky. Do you agree? Objection, yes. And you respond, so funky? Miss Porter, objection. Can you point us to which prior conversation you're referencing? Miss Hudson, sure. Exhibit 5, JS 370. Do you see the last exchange from Miss Lively? She says, I'm having a funky time today. You? And then it looks like you respond, so funky, in Exhibit 7. Yeah. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I was confused by the time. Yes. And do you recall this exchange as you look at it? As I look at it, yes. Do you remember what you meant by funky? Being unsettled, feeling weird? Did it feel like there were issues that were unresolved? Objection, Miss Porter, objection to form. Miss Hudson, I'll withdraw that and restate it. Did you feel like there was something that could be done to help you feel settled and less weird, as you describe it? I wasn't sure. Miss Lively says then that she feels like she needs to say something tonight after wrap. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Yes, I do. And then you respond that if you want something to be there to advocate for with you, I'm there. Were you glad that Miss Lively was willing to speak up? Yeah. And then if you go down below and it skips to page 68, so we miss 4 pages. Did you see this as a general invitation to go into her trailer anytime she was pumping breast milk? Objection, no. Whereupon Exhibit 8 was marked for identification. I'm going to hand to you what we marked as Exhibit 8, in addition to sharing your concerns with your manager. Did you also share your concerns with your agent? Eventually, yeah. And is your agent Josh Pearl? At the time, yes. The document that we just marked as Exhibit A is a text exchange dated May 27th, 2023, between you and Josh Pearl, bait stamp JS 506 through 507. Do you recognize this as a text exchange between you and Mr. Pearl that you participated in? Yes, and Mr. Pearl was your agent at the time. At the time, he was my agent. And in the first text in this chain, you ask him if Stacy has gotten in touch with him, right? Yes. And then you go on to tell him that this week was really intense for a few reasons. It's like fascinating and also so shitty. Justin and Jamie are truly unfit. I'm not scared or anything, just repulsed and deeply irritated. And I know Blake is experiencing that on a much more serious level. Is there anything that was occurring on set other than the incidents that you have described? Objection to form. Other than what I've described, I'm not exactly sure. Like, how to answer that, honestly. I think what I described are the issues other than, COVID and the strike, the general chaos that I sort of described and the behavior that was as described here. I think that's that. And and this reflects the feelings you were having at the time accurately. Yes. And Mr. Pearl responds, "Are you okay to continue? Do you see that?" Yes. Were you considering not continuing with the film at that time? No. And then you go on to say that you're okay to keep going, but you say, "I feel like it's about to get really bad, and I'm not sure what Blake's limit is, but she's really taken a lot of crap from them, like crazy shit, and I'm not kidding when I tell you that Justin and Jamie freak me out. Like, they tell really weird lies, and Justin is astoundingly wrongheaded." When you say that when you say they tell really weird lies, what did you have in mind at the moment? I don't recall. And then you say, "I really don't get how he did a TED Talk. He is worse than most of the bros I've encountered. Not because he's predatory, but because of his general fragility and misogyny, like not seeming to be aware of any of the obvious no-nos." What were you referring to there in terms of his fragility and misogyny and not being aware of any of the obvious no-nos? The defensiveness of that sort of huffy behavior, the inappropriate behavior, those types of things. Were you referring to the TED Talk that your other agent had told you about before you took the role? Yeah, and you understood that to be a TED Talk in which he described himself as a male feminist? Something like that, yeah. And did you feel that his behavior was not consistent with someone who proclaims to be a male feminist? Objection. Well, strike that. Why did you reference his TED Talk here? I referenced it because of what I say here. His behavior was really at odds with someone who was apparently an expert enough to do a TED Talk. And then Mr. Pearl asks you if you had spoken with Alex. Did you understand that to be Alex Sachs? Are you when he says how's Alex been? Yes. I'm sorry. I'm reading through this because I haven't no problem. We're going through this kind of quickly. I'm going to ask you another question, so ignore that one. You say you haven't spoken to Alex because when we had brunch, she said she had been friends with Justin for a while and I just felt weird. Is that accurate? Yes. As to why you didn't speak with Alex? Yes. And what was your understanding of Alex Sachs and Mr. Baldoni's relationship? I don't know a lot about uh I didn't know a lot about it, but she said she had known Justin for a few years. And you said at that point, we he had made the comment to me about looking sexy, but I had decided to just try to push past it, even though it made me feel so unsettled and deeply disappointed and irritated. Does that accurately describe how you felt? Yes. And then you tell Mr. Pearl that Miss Lively had alerted Miss Gianetti at Sony that Miss O'Neill was also planning to talk to Miss Gianetti, correct? Yes. And then your last line here in this text chain is, "I do kind of feel like there might be a limit to what people can take. There are also a lot of crew people who are pretty upset." Who on the crew did you understand to be upset at that time? People in the hair and makeup department and a couple of PAs? And who in hair and makeup? Let's see, is that a skip? Yep. So page 78. With respect to Mr. Heath going into Miss Lively's trailer, did you hear about that from anyone other than Miss Lively? I don't think so. What do you recall her telling you about that at whatever point it was? I don't recall anything specific, but just that she felt like they were just coming in. Yeah. You say you don't recall when Miss Lively told you this. Was it during the first phase of filming? I think so. And there was a break in the filming because of the WGA strike, correct? Yes. And that happened sometime in late June? I believe so, sometime in June of 2023. Yes. And with respect to Miss Lively telling you that Mr. Baldoni was improvising physical intimacy, did she tell you about that during the first phase of filming? I think so, yes. And what do you recall her telling you? I recall her saying that he was biting her lip when they were kissing. Did she tell you that he improvised physical contact that was not written in the script? Yeah, that's what she felt. Did you feel something like that would be appropriate? Objection. Something like what? Did you have any views on whether it was appropriate for Mr. Baldoni to improvise kissing or other physical intimacy that wasn't written in the script? Objection. I think it's appropriate to do what you plan to do in the scene. So, in your view, if it wasn't planned, it would not be appropriate. Objection. And it skips to 85. Did Miss O'Neill report back to you about the conversation that she had with Miss Gianetti? Yes. Do you remember that conversation with Miss O'Neill outside of what's written in this text? Not specifically. In the text, you say that Miss O'Neill went through the general points of the unprofessional behavior and the feeling that I have that's affecting the work. Do you see that? Yes. Did you feel that it was affecting your work? Yes. Did you feel that the work environment in general was altered by the behavior of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath? Objection. Yeah, yes. And then you also wrote that you ended up telling your manager the whole deal. And does it skip? Nope, the whole deal. Like just all of the weird stuff that Justin and Jamie have pulled. Do you recall specifically what you told your manager with respect to that? No, not specifically at this point. No. And then you also wrote to Miss Lively that you plan to speak with Alex the next day and tell her about your discomfort and feelings of being unsettled. Do you see that? I do. So at that point, had you decided to speak with Miss Sachs, notwithstanding the fact that she had a longer relationship with Mr. Baldoni? It appears so. And what prompted you to want to raise your concerns with Miss Sachs? I don't recall. And then in Miss Lively's response, she says, because I haven't spoken to Justin or Jamie or Alex about the inappropriate behavior yet, you can just speak to what you've witnessed and experienced. I told Ange, but I asked her not to mention so that I could personally tackle, since I have to try to salvage some degree of chemistry and camaraderie with Justin, who's not only my director, but love interest, and we're not even one third of the way done. What did you understand Miss Lively to be communicating to you here? Objection. The way I took that was that she felt that her work would suffer if she brought it up then, and that I should just talk about what happened for me. To Miss Gianetti? Yes. And then if you go down, there's an entry from Miss Lively at 2:44 AM where she says, "You were standing there for the thing he said to me when he said I look hot. I said that's not what I'm going for, and he said, 'Okay, sexy,' and then made a joke once he asked if he crossed a line, and I said yes, that he must have missed the sexual harassment meeting." Now, you described this incident in your own words earlier. Do you recall Mr. Baldoni saying at the end of that that he must have missed the sexual harassment meeting? I don't specifically recall that. Do you have any reason to doubt Miss Lively's recollection of that? Objection. No. When you saw this, you didn't think immediately, well, that's not right. He didn't say that. Miss Schuster, objection. And correct her, correct? In these texts? Yes. Yeah, I don't correct her. If Miss Lively had recounted something that you believe was inaccurate, would you have said to her you remembered it differently? Objection. I don't feel like I can speak to that hypothetical. That's fair. If you go to the next page at 3:18 a.m., there's a text from Miss Lively where she says, "It's a culmination. The difference is if someone said something to one of us, if we made them uncomfortable, neither of us would behave the way he does after. That's what's odd. He keeps referencing it or disconnects entirely or gets snippy and impatient as a director. Is that the experience that you had as well?" Objection. Yes. Did you understand this to be in reference to Mr. Baldoni? Yes. And then Miss Lively says, he was so huffy after the sexy thing, I felt awful for saying something. Was that consistent with your experience? Yes. And then if you skip down to 3:28 a.m., Miss Lively says, what you said, though, is very self aware. Neither of us are people who can't take a joke or who can't work or understand blue. We're not that fragile. You just can't record people without asking. You can't speak to people sexually while not in character or while talking about the character. And if you overstep, you move on. It's the weirdness after that makes it feel bad. Like if we speak up, the vibes on set get funky and the work suffers. Did you feel that Miss Lively in this exchange accurately reflected what was happening on set with Mr. Baldoni? Objection. In that situation that I experienced where he talked about her looking sexy or hot, yes. And then the recording here, did you understand that to refer to the recording of the Zoom? Yes. And did you agree that in your view, you and Miss Lively, in your view and Miss Lively were not, let me start that over. And did you agree that in your view, you and Miss Lively were not fragile and could take a joke? Objection. Yeah. If you go to the end of this text, and I believe it skips from 90 to 100. No, I'm going to hand you a document marked as Exhibit 12. Exhibit 12 is a text exchange dated June 1st, 2023, bait stamped JS333 through 35. Do you recognize this as a text exchange between you and Alex Sachs that you participated in? Yes. And can you tell that it's Miss Sachs just from the context? Yes. And in this message, Miss Sachs sends you a note for Mr. Baldoni. Do you see that? Yes. And how would you characterize this note? You said earlier that he did not give you an apology. Do you not see this as an apology note? No, I don't see it as an apology. How would you characterize this note? I would characterize this note as an acknowledgement that he received information from Ange and that, as he said, adjustments will be made accordingly. How did you feel having received this note? I felt that it was, not taking direct accountability and like lame, but it was also enough for me to feel like I could focus up and do our work. And yeah, with that, I think it's 1 o'clock. Should we break for lunch? Miss Porter, how are you feeling? The witness. Yeah, sure. We'll take 30 minutes. Going off the record. And then it says they're now back on record. The time is 1:38 p.m. and jumps from 101 to 113. Group of people on June 4th, 2024. Yes. And it looks like the subject matter of this text exchange is something called EPK. Can you tell me what an EPK is? It's EPK, let's hope I'm right, stands for, I want to say electronic press kit, but I might be wrong. And usually what that is sometimes they do it on set. Sometimes they do it after production has wrapped in the post-production time. They ask you questions about the production, your role, stuff like that, and then they can use it for promotional materials. And it looks like what, Miss Porter? I was just going to mention, I think in your question you asked 2024, but it's 2023, just to, for the record. Miss Hudson, thank you. Yes, for the record, the council is correct. The date of the text is June 4th, 2023. Thank you for correcting that. It looks like nope, it doesn't jump, sorry. You were sent some questions to answer for the EPK as part of this text chain, is that right? Yes. And you say here to your team, hey guys, I don't want to do anything with Justin. I don't want to talk about him like nothing. And the same goes for Jamie, who is truly unprofessional. I also haven't read the book, so definitely no cues about that. I'm just not sure how visible I want to be in this campaign. And looking over this list, I'm wondering if actually we should wait a beat. What is Blake going to do? I'll ask her myself on Tuesday. So, was it your feeling at this time that you did not want to do anything with respect to press or promotion of this film? It seems that that was my position at the time. And it says here that I'll ask her myself on Tuesday. Had you not discussed this issue with Miss Lively by this time? I can't specifically recall, but I guess not. Did Miss Lively tell you to tell your team that you didn't want to do press or publicity? No. This was something that you did independently? Yes. I'll hand you what we will be marking as Exhibit 17. Exhibit 17 is an email exchange dated June 4th, 2023, between Samantha Cooper, Jenny Slate, Paris Reese, Alexander Croton, Karen Gardner, Stacey O'Neill, and Jenny Slate, CAA team regarding Jenny Slate upcoming publicity schedule as of June 4th, 2023. Bait stamped JS520 through 522. Do you recognize this as an email exchange that you had with the people that I just described on June 4th, 2023, whereupon Exhibit 17 was marked for identification? Yes. And in the beginning email below from Paris Reese, there is a schedule of various publicity events. Do you see that? Yes. And in response to the schedule, you say, "Hi there, my concerns are only increasing about our director and producer, Jamie. I'd like to do the bare minimum here. Let's talk on the phone and cut it way down, please." Again, is this how you were feeling at the time about doing anything related to publicity for the film? Yes. And at some point, were you involved at all in the publicity or press for the film? Yes. And I'm going to hand you a document that we will mark as Exhibit 18. Exhibit 18 is a text exchange between Miss Slate and Josh Pearl dated July 26, 2024, bait stamped JS 512 to 514. Do you recognize this as a text exchange that you participated in with Mr. Pearl? Yes. I think what the text is what it says. Oh, it jumps. And it's an accurate description of how you were feeling about them at the time. At this time, July 26th, yes. How you s or now you said that you did participate in some press and publicity for the film. Is the fact that Miss Lively's cut with Sony was the one that was being released? Strike that. Oh my gosh. Did the fact that Lively's cut with Sony was the one that was being released impact your willingness to do press or publicity for the film? I don't think that it mattered to me whose cut it was. I think it just mattered to me that the cut was watchable. At some point, did you see the cut of the film? I never saw the full, like, completed movie. What made you decide to participate in press or publicity for the film at all? I didn't wanna let my castmates down. I didn't wanna be dramatic. It seemed that everybody was participating, and I just wanted to make it easy. Yeah. Did you do any publicity or promotion with Mr. Baldoni? No. Did you tell anyone that you would not do press or publicity with Mr. Baldoni specifically? I believe so. Beyond what you had told your team in 2023, let me just clarify. Did you consistently take the position that you would not do press or publicity with Mr. Baldoni from 2023 up through the time that you were doing publicity and promotion? Yes. And what did you do in terms of publicity and promotion for the film? What I recall is 2 content days and a press junket, and that also included, like a taped appearance for a morning TV show, and I went to the premiere and it jumps. No, it doesn't. And, the photo call there. And did you receive direction about how to talk about the film, talking points, things along those lines from anyone? I believe there were talking points from either Sony or usually there is. There are those. I'm not usually someone that reviews those, and I don't remember reviewing them. Is Did you have your own views of how you were going to speak about the film? Nothing planned. Do you recall how you spoke about the film during those promotional activities? I recall wanting to avoid drama in the sort of like social media sphere and wanting to support Blake's performance and speaking to that. Okay. And did you speak about the movie as a film of female empowerment? It's quite likely, I don't recall exactly. And let's see, is this is that how you saw the film? I saw the film as a film about domestic violence and the capacity for a person to try to extricate themselves from the traumatic cycles and a love story. Sorry. At some point, did you learn that there was negative internet chatter about the film after it was at or around the time it was released? Yes, at some point. And how did you first learn that? I can't recall how I first learned it. Are you somebody who is frequently on social media? No. Do you manage your own social media? I do not. Does your publicity team manage your social media? No. Who manages your social media? I have an assistant, and when I need to post something, she does it for me and goes to 281. So we miss a massive portion of deposition here. Did Blake Lively ever tell you that any of the defendants questioned her about her sexual fantasies or sexual performance? Objection. I, Miss Hudson, counsel, before we go into this, I would like to just invoke FRCP. I'm sorry, Mr. Schuster. I'll withdraw the question. Miss Hudson, FRA 412. Mr. Schuster, I'll withdraw the question. Miss Hudson, okay. Going back to the occasion when Justin referred to Blake as sexy or hot and then sexy, was that during filming or as something was about to be filmed? In my memory, it was like start of the day and like setting up a shot, like getting ready to rehearse, something like that. And where physically did that scene take place? Was that in an office? Was that on a studio? And I apologize if I'm using the wrong terminology. It was in a bar. Okay, do you recall that bar being particularly hot at that time? Objection. I don't know, maybe. Okay, do you recall what Blake was wearing? I remember that she was in her, like, own clothes, not wardrobe. Do you remember if she was wearing a jacket? Yes, in my memory, it was like some sort of button-up or something, and from what I remember, but maybe I'm wrong, that she had, like, a blazer that I think she said was Ryan's blazer. As best you can recall, what was the interaction between Blake and Justin as it relates to that comment? What I've already described, that fully describes your memory of that event. Objection to form. And let's see. Objection. I think so. What happened after Justin made that comment? Objection. In my memory, that was when I said that, as I described before, that the comments were kind of like ranged from being like irrelevant, doesn't matter when people think about what we look like in our clothes, to, kind of disruptive, like distracting and not doing that anymore. I can't remember if Justin left, like, between when he said the sexy hot stuff and then came back and then I said that, or I can't remember how many times he left. Maybe it was once, maybe twice, but then after I said that, in my memory, he left kind of, as I described it before, kind of like huffed away and then came back and said the thing about the reason why he said the word hot was because it was hot in the bar. Did he ever apologize for that comment? No, not that I can remember. Who else was present at that time? Blake? There were lots of crew members, people around. Okay, do you know if the interaction was audio recorded? No. Do you know if there is a video recording of that interaction? No. During the course of this production, did you ever hear Blake Lively use the term sexy? Nothing comes to mind. Did you ever discuss sex or your sex life? Objection to form. Objection. Two different people, Miss Porter and Miss Hudson, both call it. With Blake? With anybody in connection with this movie? Miss Hudson, objection. Nothing more than what the text message shows about a joke that I made about, and then it jumps to page 296. This is not my lawsuit. Okay, is there a reason why you did not join Blake Lively in this lawsuit? Objection. Objection to form. Two different lawyers. I felt that I settled my issues on set and I wanted to move on. Thank you. Do you know if Blake Lively told Sony that you would not attend the premiere if Justin attended? Objection. I don't know that. Did you ever tell anyone that you would not attend the premiere if Justin Baldoni attended? Objection. No. Do you know if Blake Lively ever told Sony that Colleen Hoover would not attend the premiere if he attended? Objection. I don't know anything about what Blake said to anyone at Sony. I wouldn't know that. And that is the end of the deposition for Jenny Slate. Whew. I find it weird. I'm gonna sit and kind of digest this for a second, but I find it weird that this is Blake Lively's situation, and yet here's Jenny Slate giving a deposition. And that deposition is primarily about like Jenny's thoughts or feelings. And I get it. They're trying to corroborate. They're trying to figure out like did she agree with what Blake has claimed? Did she agree that Justin was being the way that she claimed? I want to see the video. I want to see how she responded. I want to hear the tone of her voice. I know I do not do any justice to the way that Jenny Slate speaks, how she shows up and the things that she says. Like her tone inflections, it's so I don't want to say she's a bubbly person, but she's a very I mean, she's done a lot of drunk history. If you're not aware, she's done a ton of episodes of drunk history and she is the one who's drinking. And so she's a very like I said, I don't want to say bubbly because bubbly just sounds like I don't find her to be a bubbly personality because to me bubbly would be I don't know, somebody there's like I said, I don't find her personality to be bubbly. It is animated for sure. And I think that's why she does really well and why they've had her on Drunk History so many times is because even without drinks, she's very animated, and with drinks, she's even more animated. And so uh and it's not just her animations in terms of how she expresses herself. It's I don't know, she fits a lot of humor into a lot of things. So she's very entertaining, but I don't equate that to bubbly. Bubbly would to me okay, maybe that's the difference. Bubbly feels positive, like one of those people who's got a really joyful kind of attitude, maybe slightly innocent kind of a thing, and, like, Jenny's funny and entertaining, but I don't find her to be that kind of, like, live, laugh, love type of personality. I think that's the difference for me as to why I wouldn't describe her specifically as bubbly. She's lighthearted, she's funny, but not bubbly, right? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good character to to paint as, like, bubbly, and I can't I'm not pulling anything directly. But this is the thing, like, so many people that want to believe her, they're trying to say that, like, "Oh, look at how many women have come forward," and I'm like, "The not none of those women are a part of this case." Even Jenny clearly said that she felt like her issues were settled on set. Water under the bridge. And I think that's when I talk about the Rosetta Stone of it all with Blake and the way that she behaves, to me, it feels like it harkens back to that comment in the 50 Cent P. Diddy documentary where he said about or one of the interviewers, one of the people being interviewed said that Diddy remembered every slight. And to me, it feels like Blake just couldn't let this one go. Like she wanted a certain outcome. She wanted him to act and behave and respond a certain way, and when he didn't, and when she didn't get the outcome that she wanted, she blew everything up. Because we've gone over the patterns of behavior, and it's almost like when somebody like this gets their sights locked in on somebody, they are relentless. They won't let something go, and if they don't get the outcome that they believe that they should get, they will set out to destroy the person who has slighted them. And that's what I feel like we're in. I don't feel like this is a situation where, oh my gosh, we should all be like hyper aware and sensitive and like I don't feel like people would be in danger to work with somebody like Justin. I think honestly what's happening because somebody made a point today, they were like, "Oh, Scarlett didn't do promotion for Eleanor the Great." And it's really disheartening to think that Scarlett had a chance to, you know, do something for the people who gave her the opportunity to have her directorial debut because the and it's that's I'm not saying in a transactional way. I am saying that when we've specifically seen Alex Sachs talk about the difficulty of financing a project, and now we've had how many people get financed to certain degrees to do the work to make these movies, and this ever-growing list of people has turned around and stabbed in the back the people who financially supported their projects. I and I'm not saying, like, take the hit and don't do something. I'm saying these people do not feel like the people that deserve this destruction. Because you cannot get me to believe that these 2 are worse than Weinstein, worse than Allen. Like, just and maybe that's the other thing too, because what I was gonna say, what I was trying to get out, and I don't know why my brain went a different direction. They've said before, Wayfarer has said before in their paperwork that they just had a different worldview, and I think that's the biggest issue behind all of this, is that none of these folks none of these folks cut these 2 out of this photo. Everybody else in this photo, none of them are out here doing social justice work. None of them are doing anti-racism work, none of them are doing liberation work, none of them are really doing self-reflection and learning what white supremacy is, what patriarchy is, what misogyny is. They're, in my opinion, they're all doing the work of, like, white feminism. They believe the biggest villain in the room is patriarchy and misogyny, when the rest of us, we have to deal with everything else that falls under the system of white supremacy. So they think that, like, the biggest disaster is to not get the credit that they're due. They couldn't even see the importance of telling the story of survivors. Like, that is how callous, how unempathetic, and how self-involved their white feminism is that they can't even understand the plight of survivors. They can't even understand why it's important to platform the voice of survivors. So I think that you have these 2 who are doing social justice work, who are capable of doing liberation work, and who can see these other things, and then you just have the rest of these people that are like, "What do you mean? What do you mean feminist?" Like, they expected that feminist meant that they just got to walk all over them and do whatever they wanted and get credit for everything. That's misandry. That's the patriarchy and misogyny inverted. It's the same but equal thing in the opposite direction. Okay, I'm gonna make my next post about Jenny Slate and the Seth Meyers interview, so, I know that I told somebody that I was going to make this post, so let's get into that.